I got a call, and it's a call that honestly he's gotten before. Said, Ollie, there's a ghost in my house. I said, okay. I can work with you on this. You've seen my rate card, yes? I said, yeah, no, I looked at that. Yes, it's all fine. It's all fine. I'm scared of the ghost, Ollie, and it seems like you've dealt with this kind of thing before. I said, yeah, I have. I've got something this morning, but I could come by about 1 in the afternoon if that works for you. I said, that'd be fine. I mean, the ghost doesn't usually show up until evening. I said, okay, well, tell you what, why don't I show up at like 4 o'clock? And then we can talk about the situation, and then, I can try and stick around until the ghost shows up. Does that sound good? That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you, Ollie. All right. Is there anything else that I should know? Anything I should bring? Is there anything you've already noticed about the ghost? I said, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be hurting anything, but it's scary. I said, okay. All right. If it doesn't hurt anything, that's probably a good sign. Maybe it's a friendly ghost. You never know. Okay, thank you. So Ollie went about his day, and about 4 o'clock he made his way over to the house. It was downtown. It was like one of those big old row houses, kind of down by Peabody. Yeah, really cool houses, townhouses. We'll find out, won't we? No, don't do that. So I rang the doorbell, and he heard nothing, and then running. And then the latch clicked open. Oh, okay, good. It's you. Come on in. So is everything okay? I said, yeah, when you rang the doorbell, well, often when someone rings the doorbell, that's one of the things that makes the ghost appear. I said, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, that's good to know. I said, yeah. I've been meaning to tape over the doorbell and put a sign up that says, please knock. Because usually, like I said, the ghost only appears at night. Well, in the evening, really. But when the doorbell rings, that'll make it show up even in the middle of the day. I said, okay, how long have you been noticing this ghost? I said, oh, I mean, since about a week after I moved in, honestly. I said, okay, so how long has that been? Honestly, about 2 months. I've been living here about 2 months, and the ghost started showing up about a week after I moved in. I said, okay. You see, I inherited the place from my uncle. Well, I mean, so my uncle and my grandfather owned this house together. They bought it together. They were in business together. They had a wine shop. And my grandfather passed away 15 years ago or so. But my uncle was still pretty healthy until pretty recently, and then he passed away. And so I inherited this house that they bought together. It's a big house, as you can see. I mean, my uncle didn't have, like a wife and kids of his own, but my grandfather did, obviously. I never lived in this house, but my parents did, and my uncle always lived here too, and he had, romantic interests over and friends over. It was a great house. I grew up coming and visiting the house. But I never lived here until I inherited the place. I didn't expect my uncle to leave it to me, actually, but he did. I said, okay. So you recently inherited this whole house and this wine shop. I said, yeah, I mean, the wine shop, I have a minority stake in it at this point. I mean, my grandfather died, my uncle brought on a partner, and, I still had my grandfather's share. I'm the only grandkid from my grandpa. I don't have any brothers or sisters, and he only had the one daughter. Anyway, so anyway, I inherited the house when my uncle died. He didn't have any kids, like I said, I said, okay, I get it. I get it. You inherited the house. You inherited a share of the wine shop. You don't, sounds like you're not day to day involved in the wine shop. I said, no, I've been thinking about getting involved, but no, I'm not now. The people that my uncle's partners, they're, I mean, they're great. They know a lot about wine. They have a lot of fun. I hang out there. I said, okay, let's focus on the house. We can come back to the wine shop if it feels like it's necessary, if it's relevant, but thinking maybe it isn't. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. So the house. So, like I said, it was my grandfather's house. He and my grandma lived here. They raised my dad here. My mom here. My uncle lived here too. It was a very warm, loving house. And yeah, so I inherited it about 2 months ago, and about a week and a half after I moved in, this ghost started appearing, Ollie. It's coming more and more. It's gotten to the point that just about every time the doorbell rings, and just about every evening, this ghost appears. I'll sit still. I said, okay, just tell me about the ghost. What are you experiencing when the ghost comes? Yeah, so the first thing I notice is that the whole room gets cold. You know, there's a nice fireplace, and even if the fire's going, even if I'm wearing a sweater, you know, the place has a modern hot water radiator. Even if the place should be warm, it suddenly gets cold, and that's when I know it's about to happen. And then it's not a flame exactly, but but it looks kind of like a flame, and it'll appear. It'll start by the fireplace, not in the fireplace, but by the fireplace, and it's pink and purple, not normal flame colors, but it sort of flickers and waves like a flame, and it appears, and it'll come, and it'll make these noises, and I can't understand the noises. It sounds like speech, but I can't understand it, and it'll come over to me, and it'll hang out a distance from me like a person would hang out if they were talking to me, but I've tried yelling at it, I've tried talking to it, and sometimes when I talk to it, it goes away, and sometimes it sticks around for a while. It'll just follow me around the place for an hour or so. I don't know what it wants. Honestly, just sounding exhausted. It is exhausting. It's so exhausting. I don't know what this ghost wants. It's got me scared. There shouldn't be ghosts. Ghosts aren't real, right? You've dealt with a lot of these things, and they're usually fake. I said, yes, that's true, but I have dealt with real ghosts and real vampires and real zombies, so I wouldn't rule it out. Probably there's some sort of naturalistic explanation, but stop. But you know, I've cleared my schedule for the afternoon. We're gonna count it as a stakeout. We're just gonna hang out. So I want you to just. Has the ghost ever appeared when you've had guests? Oh yeah, I don't have guests for that reason. The ghost shows up one way or the other. Doesn't matter. Okay, great. I want you to just treat me like I was a guest. I mean, I am. But, you know, let's have a glass of wine or whatever you would normally do if you had somebody that was over to hang out. We can watch TV. We can read books. I see you've got a good library here. I said, oh, yeah, I'm not much of a TV watcher. I mean, if you want, we could. But, yeah, usually I read in the evening. Sometimes I play cards or something. If I have a friend over, I have some friends, we play Dungeons and Dragons, but that's hard to do with two people. I said, we can just read. We can just read and hang out. That's totally fine. So that's what they did. The guy opened up a bottle of wine, had some snacks. Ollie picked out a book from the library shelf there, and then the guy already had a book that he was reading. And they just sat down, hung out, drank some wine, read some books. And then about 7 o'clock in the evening or so, when it was starting to get dark, Ollie noticed over by the fireplace, which was lit, an additional fire began to form. About 4 feet off the ground and about 2 feet away from the mantelpiece. This bluish, purplish flame. Ollie reached over and nudged his host. I said, "Is that what you're talking about?" I said, "Oh, sorry, it makes me nervous every time. Yeah, that's how it starts." And Ollie waited and watched, and the flame grew bigger and bigger, pinker, purpler. And then it wandered over. It seemed to be making some noise. I said, "I have an idea. Would you mind excusing me with the ghost?" I said, "So it is a ghost?" Well, I said, "What I'm seeing here is a tongue of flame. I've looked all around. There's no strings. There's no projector. Honestly, I think you have a real ghost here." "Oh, no, no, no. It's something you would tell me wasn't a real ghost. Oh, no. I've got to go. My place is haunted. Why didn't my uncle tell me the place was haunted?" I said, I don't know, but tell you what. What would really help me, it sounds weird, but it would really help me is if I had some ice cream. Is there a place nearby where you can get just like some chocolate ice cream or something?" I said, "Oh, chocolate ice cream, yeah, yes. There's a place, it's not going to be like fancy stuff, but there's a 7-Eleven about a block and a half away. I can get the chocolate ice cream there. Would that help with the ritual or whatever you're going to do?" Well, I said it would help, yes. So the guy left, scooted out the door. He had been looking for an excuse to leave. The ghost made him uncomfortable. Once he was out the door, I looked right at the flame. I said, "Okay, so you're a ghost. I'm a private detective that specializes in supernatural stuff. I figure it's about a block and a half away. We've got about 15 minutes to figure out how to communicate." And the flame seemed to nod. I said, "All right, that looked like a nod. Nod again if you can understand me." And the flame nodded. So I said, "Okay, if you are a ghost, nod." And the flame nodded. I said, "Okay, let's see here. Have you been here a long time?" And the flame nodded. All I saw in the corner there was a chalkboard. Just like an easel, kind of like yours. Except smaller, like handheld. So he picked it up and said, "Can you hold physical things like this chalk?" And the flame didn't do anything. I said, "All right. Well, I've got a pretty good idea about who you are. Are you this guy's uncle?" And the flame nodded. I said, "All right. So you're the uncle. So I'm guessing you don't mean any harm." And the flame nodded. I said, "Well, we've got to get beyond this nodding situation. But it seems like you're having some trouble communicating, because I feel like you're trying to talk, but the noises you make are all garbled, probably because you've got no lips, no teeth, no tongue, which makes it hard to talk." And the flame nodded. I said, "So, we've got binary communication here. You want to communicate something to your nephew. He's been afraid because you're a ghost. And that's reasonable to be afraid of a ghost. And the flame nodded. And he said, all right. The classic thing about ghosts is that they have some unfinished business. Do you have unfinished business? And the flame nodded. He said, all right. So there's something you need to tell your nephew or to show your nephew. Is it something you need to tell your nephew? And the flame didn't move. Is it something you need to show your nephew? And the flame nodded. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. If it's something you need to show your nephew, we can probably do that. You can move around, right? And the flame moved all around the room to show that it could, perhaps eager to do something other than nodding. I said, all right, so there's something that you need to show your nephew. Is it here in the house? And the flame nodded. I said, okay, here's what I propose then. When he comes back with ice cream, I'm going to tell him that you're friendly, and you're the ghost of his uncle, and you have something to show him. Then you lead him and me, I'll come along to help, to what you want to show him. And we'll just play it by ear from there. If that sounds good, give me a nod, old buddy. And the flame nodded. Well, about 10 minutes went by. Well, I was trying to have a conversation with the ghost, but it's hard when couldn't really do a whole lot. You could nod, move around, make noises, but not comprehensible noises. So there wasn't a whole lot of conversation to be had, which was frustrating for Ollie because how often do you get to talk to a ghost? But, what can you do? So the guy came...
Remember that time Ollie communicated with a ghost by looking at a piece of wood and the ghost carved words in?
That was a clever ghost, yeah. If this ghost had thought about it, he probably could have done that, but didn't think about it, I guess.
Plus, it didn't have arms.
That flame, though, you could carve with flame.
Oh, yeah, well.
But anyway, this ghost didn't think of that. It's a good idea, though. So the guy came back with the ice cream. I said, okay, I've got the ice cream. Oh, the flame's still here. All right. I said, I want you to calm down because this flame, bad news is, it is a ghost. Good news is, it's your uncle. I said, really? Jim, that's you? And the flame nodded. I said, and your uncle wants to show you something. That's why he keeps on coming back. He's been trying to show you something. I said, no, I've just been hiding and running away. Oh man, Uncle Jim, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. The flame sort of shimmied back and forth in a vaguely comforting motion. One would have to think that if one was a ghost, one would understand. People being a little bit afraid of that situation. I said, well, okay, Uncle Jim, if you want to show me something, is it here in the house? And the flame nodded. Okay, yeah, I'm ready. So the flame went and circled around the client, whose name is Bob. Circled around Bob, made 3 circles, and it bounced up and down 3 times. I said, I think that means it's ready to show you. I think we're going to follow. And so the flame went out into the hallway and upstairs into the bedroom level. And they followed. They went into one of the bedrooms, and there was a door, not a proper door, but like this like closet door thing, but like into the attic space. And the flame indicated at the closet space, and so Bob opened it up, and the flame went into the closet space, and Bob followed, and Ollie followed. It was tall enough to stand up, so they followed. They were a little bit worried that the flame might catch something on fire in there, but it didn't. All the way in the very back corner, not a place you'd think to go all by yourself, but lit by the flame, you could see there was a big trunk. had stamps on it from all around the world: Africa, Korea, Uganda, Belgium, Belize, Brazil. And the flame, the uncle, nodded at the trunk. And Bob said, "Is this what you want to show me? This is something hidden here, some stories to tell about the family, about you, Uncle Jim?" And the flame nodded, and then the flame, poof, disappeared. Bob said, "Ollie, can you help me bring this trunk out into the light?" And they drug, and it was heavy. This big old trunk full of something heavy. And they dragged it out of the attic into the bedroom, got all the lights turned on, and said, "Well, I should open it up." And they opened it up, and on the top of the trunk, on the top layer, was all full of gold coins. Many thousands of dollars worth of gold coins, but underneath that, and far more interesting to Bob, there were journals and photos and artifacts and souvenirs. All these things he would learn about the uncle's travels and journeys and adventures. And his grandpa went with him. Like Bob's grandpa, I mean. And Bob's grandpa's wife went with him. There's this whole thing, this whole rich bit of family history that had been hidden in the house. And I guess Bob's uncle wanted him to know that part of the story. More than just the uncle that never married, the uncle that had a whole crazy life unto himself. Bob said, "Oh man, Ollie, this is amazing. There's so much to learn. There's a whole world about Uncle Jim I never knew. I'm really excited to get to know him a little better, even though he's gone." "Thanks, Ollie." I said, "Sure. You know, if you wouldn't mind, looks pretty interesting. I wouldn't mind sticking around and learning some more too." But that'd be fine. "Can I pour you another glass of wine?" Ollie said, "Sure." And that was the case of Ollie and the Real Ghost.